Greetings to the friends of the law offices of Williams-Ruth. I am Brent Williams-Ruth, and I'm coming to you today, June 20th, for my second live video of the day because there's just so much to say. This video is specifically me taking a moment to celebrate the 8th anniversary of my business that I founded on July 1, 2015. I am truly relieved that the crazy idea I had to create a firm that was unique in the world of estate planning attorneys, at least here in Washington, has wings and has been the pride and joy of my life for the last 8 years and has afforded me to live out what we are told to do, which is to do something you love to do and you won't really be working. I can honestly say that I love getting up every day, going into the office, or today from the home office, don't judge the clutter, and taking care of my clients and working on my cases and advocating for the changes I want to see in the future. But I know that's not everybody. And yesterday, we saw the news broke worldwide that there is a submersible with 5 individuals on board that has lost contact with the surface as it was going down to visit the RMS Titanic, well, the wreck of the Titanic, which is at 12,500 feet in one of the most inhospitable places on the planet. And they thought it would be fun to pay a small fortune to cram themselves into this boat, which can only be opened from the outside. Not that you would open it down there below, and not that you could because the pressure is so intense. As a scuba diver, I can tell you that they train us to say that for every, okay, now my PADI training is failing me. Is it 10, 15 feet? Every 10 to 15 feet is 1 atmosphere of pressure. So you're 30 feet under, that's 3 times the pressure of atmosphere, which is why when you go underwater, you got to hold your nose and equalize. Imagine the pressure at 12,500 feet. Who's going to be able to open a hatch anyway? But I digress. I've been thinking a lot about those 5 people, and I've been saying a prayer, and then I started thinking, as one does in this industry, who has a small streak of morbid curiosity. I wonder what they're talking about. Assuming that there hasn't been some catastrophic issue where they have already lost consciousness, but there's a mechanical issue where they can't get to the surface, they have no communication, and they're racing against the clock, and they're watching the oxygen fall in their little capsule. And it's being reported that there's about 40 hours of oxygen left. Okay, you've got 40 hours of oxygen. You've got probably a phone. There's probably a paper and pad. What are you talking about? What are you thinking? What message are you going to pass along? Because you will be found. This will be found. I mean, I have absolute certainty that eventually this capsule will be found. And what are they saying? And what would you say? I mean, ask yourself. You now know you're in a vacuum with only 4 other souls to be this witness. And you are not going to be around to speak to anyone ever again. What do you say? And I don't know any of the individual people, but there's some businessmen and very successful that they're spending $250,000 on one dive. I mean, you know, I kind of draw the line, like depending on the dive and how many you get, I kind of draw the line at $500 or $600 per scuba diving experience, and that's like a day's worth of diving, and that's, you know, a boat trip there, 3 dives and lunch. 600. That's kind of where I draw the line. These people are paying $250,000 for an 8-day adventure and 1 dive down to the wreck. Are they sorry? I mean, that's the first thing that came to my mind. I'll be very honest. The first thing I thought of is I wonder if any of these people are writing a note to their loved ones saying, I'm sorry I didn't spend more time with you. You know, when you get to a point of having so much wealth that you need to make more, or if you're not paying attention to the stock market, you could lose $50 million in a day. Are you really able to dedicate much time to your family? I had a boss once in my early years that was so driven to respond that he would go on vacation with his dictaphone and he would FedEx microcassette tapes back to his secretary from wherever he was in the world. And there were times where I would be on a call with him and I would hear his family in the background saying, Dad, get off the phone, get on the boat, let's go, let's go. And that's really stuck with me. And I just, I think about billionaires who've got this money to spend and to check out something that very few people have ever looked through their little 4-inch plated glass of, it's probably this big, and they're putting their eyes up to it like, ooh, there's the Titanic. I'm happy with James Cameron version, thanks. I'm good. But some people want that, and that's okay. But what else are they saying? Are they saying, here, make sure to transfer this money, buy and sell this company? Are they thinking about business? Are they thinking about their family? Are they thinking about their life? And are there regrets? Now, again, I tie this into my anniversary post because it was really me thinking like that got me to make the change. It was Easter Sunday, 2015, and I had just returned from an amazing trip with my husband. And I was at the airport in San Francisco reconnecting to the US cellular network. Gosh, I loved those days where you couldn't make international calls that didn't cost an arm and a leg. And there were voicemails upon voicemails upon voicemails, and it just hit. I don't want to do this. This isn't my life. I don't want my life to be this legacy. When the day comes that I'm no longer here, what are they going to say? You worked for this great insurance company and you saved X millions of dollars on this case and negotiated a settlement with this construction defect. And no, that wasn't it. That couldn't be my story. And this ties into the Hamilton the musical, which I just saw for the first time with a friend of mine a year ago, and was moved to tears at the end when we're hearing about Eliza putting herself back in the narrative, and then the line of who lives, who dies, who tells your story. And that has been critical for me. I want my 800 clients currently, as of June 2023, I want them to be the ones telling my story, to tell people that I delivered legal services, unparalleled service by anyone else. I want that versus what I had for the first 15 years of my career, of my win-loss record, the number of money, the amount of money I saved in a settlement by, refusing to blink and being willing to go to trial. I don't care. That couldn't be a lifetime of work for me. So I made a change. And I'm grateful every single day. And I would tell you that right now, if I were trapped in a submersible, I would be making sure that my loved ones, which are my husband and my family and even my very close friends, who I love dearly, that I never get to see enough of because we don't live in the same state. And we all can't, we got to win Powerball so we can just, have fun not working and hang out with each other more. But that's not reality. I would make sure that every single one of them knew exactly how much they meant to me. Because even though I'm that guy that posts the sappy memes and videos, I would want them to know that as I was facing a certain imminent death, that's who I'm thinking of. And that there are no regrets. If I get eaten by a shark climbing out of the water like that poor woman in the Bahamas that lost her leg, and guess what? As a true scuba diver, she's already looking for the mermaid fin. How is she going to get back in the water with one leg? Because when you're a scuba diver, you know, hey, if I'm going to get eaten by a shark, make sure everyone knows that I went doing what I love to do. And I would say that with anything. If you're making a choice, if you're doing something, make sure you're doing it as safe as you can. But then also know things could go wrong and not to regret that choice. I hope, again, none of those 5 people are regretting their choice to take this expedition. It was worth their life, because when you're going down to 12,500 feet for a tour of a ruined wreck, you need to understand what's really on the line. But it's not just them, it's all of us every day. The choices we make, speeding through an intersection, picking up that cell phone in your car, not using the hands-free device. Every choice we make, is it really worth paying the ultimate price? I know it's changed the way I've done things, and yes, I still take risks. I'm not going to say that I'm this Mr. Wheeler who gets behind the wheel and I'm going 25 miles an hour, and no, I push the limits, but I'm also making sure that when I do, I'm safe. Case in point, going through a parking lot. Like, do you really need to go around the old edges of that big giant mall parking lot to get to the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning when there's no one else there? Yes, because you don't know when there's someone else that's going to pop out of one of the alleys where they have the loading zone, because that's who's working at the mall in the morning. So you go around your regular route and you don't save the extra 10 seconds. That's fine. But I digress. And I ask you to think about, if you were alone with 2 days before you were going to die, what message would you send? And then I would say, if there's any regret, that you should make a change. I did not want to regret my life. I did not want my husband to live a wonderful life that I paid for because I was working 65 hours a week to bring home the paycheck that we never got to enjoy, or that he enjoyed without me. It's a risk. But there really is something to that saying of, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And I'm celebrating 8 years of living that every single day, knowing that I am in a much better place in all respects: health, mentally healthy, physically healthy, financially healthy, than I was 8 years ago. And it's because I had a vision that I could do the practice of law and estate planning and estate administration differently than my colleagues, and find a market for it. And I have. So to those 5 souls, I hope that there is a miracle of miracles, that, like we see in the movie The Meg, where they're going to somehow pull off a miraculous recovery and rescue at 12,500 feet. But if this is your end, I do hope that you have the ability to leave a message, and that the message is one of gratitude for what you had, the life that you lived, the people you've loved, and that the only sadness is there wasn't more time. If my day were to come to an end 2 years from now, that is the message. And that's it. This has been a Not For Everyone episode, as I celebrate my 8th anniversary of the law offices of Brent Williams-Ruth. And just like all of my videos, I end by saying, if you or anyone you know that is a resident of the state of Washington could benefit from estate planning or estate administration assistance, call my office, 253-285-7751. Consultations are always free. Have a great day.